I've listened to Like Someone in Love by Ella Fitzgerald for months.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, and with me is Connor.
It's me!
It's you! Once again, as always, almost always. And we're coming at you with another album this week. Dipping our toes into old-timey jazz.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, this is such an interesting album. It's going to be a really, I feel like, different kind of episode in a lot of ways. I don't know. I just have a hunch, just have a feeling. Do you know a lot of Ella Fitzgerald? Do you know a lot of old-timey jazz? You seem to be like, I don't know, on the Frank Sinatra type, like the crooners and the...
I am a big fan of Frank Sinatra and stuff like that. And I know some Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah?
Not as much as I probably should.
No, see, I thought the same thing. A long, long time ago, back in the day, I was like, man, I know her by name, and I'm sure I've heard her work, but I've never, taken the time to invest in learning her music or learning about her. And so I did. And so we're here. Now I know at least 15 Ella Fitzgerald songs.
Same.
Yeah. I don't think we could, once again, swing much wider than we did last week. From space opera with guitars and synthesizers and vocal sound effects and everything. We're getting way more into the orchestra side of things this week.
Yeah, we are.
Which we haven't done in a while.
Which we haven't not done probably since I brought the world's best rapper, George Gershwin.
The world's best rhapsody writer, George Gershwin. Yeah, I think this is definitely, obviously very akin to that. And probably, I'm just trying to think through all we've done. And you might be right.
I'm always right, even when I'm wrong.
Nina Simone, I think, came kind of close.
Yeah.
And Andrew Lloyd Webber, had an orchestral kind of sound, but it was very synthy and 80s and not 1957.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I suppose we should jump on into it.
Let's do it.
So I learned a lot. Like I said, I wasn't super aware of the history of Ella Fitzgerald before this. So this is, I like these episodes where I get to learn a lot. This is one of those.
Yeah, and sometimes you learn too much.
The Mixtaper might say so. But honestly, for you, right, that's beneficial.
Yeah.
The host team, we gotta get some wins.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, Ella Fitzgerald, the first lady of song, the queen of jazz. She was born in Virginia in 1917, but when she was still young, she moved with her mother to Younkers, New York. That is a town name that always strikes me as very funny.
I think that's my favorite town name I've ever heard. Younkers.
Yeah, I know. It's up there.
Is that an actual word? Like, does Younkers have a definition? Or is that just a proper noun that has no definition?
That is apparently a definition thing. Maybe?
Yeah, the only one I'm finding is an industrial city in southeastern New York on the Hudson River.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a yonker.
Oh, wait, hang on. It can have another meaning, a young fellow. You can call a young fellow a yonker, but that's with a U. You have to put a U in it if you want to refer to a young fellow.
Oh, like a yonker.
Yeah. It's an archaic or dialectal term.
Okay, good to know.
We're just a couple of yonkers.
I suppose we are.
According to podcast.
Sure.
Just a couple of podcast yonkers.
You could say that. Whether it's correct or not, I don't know, but you could say it.
It has been said, factual or otherwise.
Well, when Ella Fitzgerald was still a yonker, she was living in Younkers. She grew up attending church with her family, which exposed her to a lot of music early on, especially, hymns, church music. She also took up an interest in dancing, which I had absolutely no idea about. She loved it. She loved to listen to jazz. Her favorite artists included the Boswell sisters, Bing Crosby, and Louis Armstrong, which is, remarkable. She would go on later in life to collaborate with Louis Armstrong on some albums. And I can't even imagine how exciting that must have been. I don't know, just to get to work with someone who's inspired you for such a long time. In particular, she started trying to emulate the Boswell sisters' Connie Boswell and incorporate her vocal style into her own singing. Really tried to channel that energy. But then, when Ella was 15, her mother was in a car crash and passed away due to injuries. After trying to live with her stepfather and her aunt, Ella kind of got caught up in a rough lifestyle. She started skipping school, she worked for mafia-affiliated gamblers, and she acted as a lookout for other underground activity. She was, in it. She eventually got caught, the law caught up with her, and she was sent away to a segregated orphanage for a while before attending a reformatory school upstate. People look back and kind of assume that she did a little bit of singing and busking in Harlem to earn extra money at this point in her life, but Her real public musical debut came when she was 17 at the Apollo Theater, which is a very famous venue that was host to tons of jazz acts like her idol Louis Armstrong and more. They actually started hosting a regular amateur night, and she performed at one of the earliest ones back in November of 1934, almost 89 years ago. But she showed up to this amateur night, and she actually didn't plan on singing at all. She was going to get up and dance, because that was what she loved. That's, her passion and her talent. But a really, really good dance act went on before her, and she was too shy to follow them up. She's like, oh, there's no way I can compete with that. So she put on her best Connie Boswell impression and she sang a couple songs. And she won first prize, which was a chance to perform at the theater for a week, to take up a mini residency there. But the theater actually never made good on that and she didn't get the chance. She did, though, start performing with Tiny Bradshaw and Chick Webb. She became a member of Chick Webb's orchestra and started performing at the Savoy Ballroom in Harlem. Her recording started to make waves, get some airplay, and her big breakout radio hit was a song that she co-wrote that you maybe have heard of if you're any kind of fan of Ella Fitzgerald. It's called A Tisket, a Tasket. It ended up being one of the biggest selling singles of the 30s, the whole decade.
I have heard of that song.
Really? Oh, that's cool. I feel like I'd heard of it, but again, I really hadn't listened to it or engaged with it. When Chick Webb passed away unexpectedly in 1939, Chick Webb's orchestra, they decided to go all in on Ella. They renamed the entire orchestra to Ella Fitzgerald and Her Famous Orchestra.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. I mean, what a way to go. And the orchestra signed with Decca Records. That engagement lasted from roughly 1942 to 1955, and she put out a lot of iconic work in that period. As far as the Decca albums go, she would put out 7 studio albums in the early years, including a record where she sang songs by our very best rapper, George and Ira Gershwin. That's, again, RHAP, Rhapsodizer?
Rhapsodizer, I like that.
Yeah, well, I feel like, is that the proper word? Is there a proper word for one who...
I don't think it is. I don't think rhapsodizer is correct, but it's the one we're going to go with. That's for sure.
I mean, so the definition of rhapsody is an effusively enthusiastic or ecstatic expression of feeling. So I feel like one who expresses enthusiasm or feelings ecstatically must be a rhapsodizer.
That does make sense.
Yeah, because you can rhapsodize to speak or write about someone or something with great enthusiasm and delight.
I'll rhapsodize.
We're rhapsodizing every week on this podcast about different artists.
We're a couple of rhapsodizing Younkers.
So we are.
Side note, a completely unrelated note, I think I found my unit for this week.
Please write it down. Write it down.
Rhapsodizing Younkers.
Yeah, the whole podcast is just a couple rhapsodizing Younkers talking about music. So that's Decca, just to get back on track. That's Decca Records. By 1956, she would move over to Verve Records, and she put out her other quote-unquote songbook records, where she would sing catalogs of other songwriters like Cole Porter, Duke Ellington, who we talked about on episode 94. She did one about Irving Berlin, Harold Arlen, Count Basie, and more. She's honestly a pioneer of this sort of songbook format. And it kind of, I think, contributes a lot to the tradition of jazz standards, right? The Great American Songbook that you started to introduce way back on episode 52 with Michael Bublé.
Yep. She has a version of Cry Me a River, which was one of my favorite songs on that Michael Bublé album.
That's right. Actually, this is a very spin cycle heavy artist, because I remember on Michael Bublé, every single song you're like, Ella Fitzgerald did a cover, and also Ella Fitzgerald did a cover, and Ella Fitzgerald did a cover.
Yeah, it was like every, yeah.
But yeah, it's a very historic genre. Like, everybody covers all the popular songs. And I wouldn't be surprised if you'd find, well, we'll talk about it. You definitely can find a lot of covers of the songs on this very album. You could hear these songs in a lot of different ways. But the reason she was able to do that songbook thing is because 12-inch LP, long-playing records, were still pretty new at the time. The very first one was made in 1931, so they're only like 20 years old, maybe. And that really opens up a whole new world of musical possibilities for people trying to make albums or collections of songs. Also, in addition to the songbook style album, she also did a lot of really captivating themed albums where she would do like an album of Broadway songs. Or she would record the music from musicals like Porgy and Bess and Hello Dolly. She did those records, like I said, alongside Louis Armstrong. Other artists collaborated with her. It's such a rich, unique catalog to dig in there. And in the midst of those Verve years, in late 1957, she released the record we're talking about today, Like Someone in Love. That's the name of the album, not the manner in which she released it.
Could be both.
Could be both. It's true. Like Someone in Love was recorded over 2 sessions in October of 1957. Sorry, Mixtober of 1957. And it came out shortly thereafter, making this her 14th studio album and her 6th with Verve. Unlike her songbook records or her more themed releases, Like Someone in Love features some of the most popular songs from a variety, a wide range of smaller, kind of less known at the time jazz artists. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons I was drawn to this album. One of the reasons I picked it. Because, like, yeah, maybe it'd be cool to do the Duke Ellington episode, right? Where she sings Duke Ellington songs.
Yeah.
But, like, we did an episode on Duke Ellington. We could do an episode on the Gershwins. We're going to do an episode on Louis Armstrong. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of wanted to see this, right? The wide array of songwriters. We get to see more breadth of what the genre is offering at this time, instead of just a deep dive into Irving Berlin or George Gershwin. It's like a better sampling of the jazz music of the period. Not to mention, it's got pretty great reviews as a pretty exemplary body of her work. Like, people like it. It's emblematic of a lot of what she's known for. And I think it's interesting because unlike what's probably the most similar album we've talked about, which is Duke Ellington, Ellington Uptown, and his big band sound full of horns and drums and just big, loud orchestra, very up-tempo. This one is so much slower and just more lyrical, obviously, since there's a singer at the helm. This album just feels a lot deeper, in a sense, than most of Ellington Uptown. But that's where we're hanging out this week. In total, over the course of her career, Ella Fitzgerald would release 59 records in her lifetime, which is absurd. 59 albums. It's so many.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and a vast majority of them did come from the 50s and 60s. She kind of slowed down after that, but honestly still put out work at a pace that rivals any contemporary music act. She's one of the most recognized names in music for a reason. Just an absolutely iconic voice, very powerful activism. She's got a real charm to her, just both in personality and the music that she makes. And I think that's really what's built her a legacy. As far as her accolades and awards go, she's earned 13 Grammys, and she was the very first woman to earn a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1967. 1967, like halfway through her career, she's got the Lifetime Achievement Award. She's achieved 2 lifetimes. It's absurd. And way back at the inaugural Grammy Awards in 1958, she was the very first black woman to win a Grammy. She is also the female artist with the most Grammy Hall of Fame recordings, with a total of 9.
That's a lot.
In it, though, she also has a Kennedy Center honor, a National Medal of Art, a Presidential Medal of Freedom, or, as some might say, she's had a presidential mix-up with Reagan and George H.W. Bush.
Some might. The dastards of the world.
Yeah. She's also earned a George and Ira Gershwin Award, which I had to put in here because we love George. She's won USC's Magnum Opus Award and honorary doctorates in music from Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Howard, Princeton, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. One of these things is not like the others. But there's obviously a ton more. I mean, there's scholarships and awards and foundations set up in her name. You could just go on forever into her career. It's a lot. In 1996, after some pretty severe health complications over the previous decade, including a double amputation of her legs below the knee due to complications from diabetes, Ella Fitzgerald passed away after a stroke at age 79. But of course, her legacy lives on in spades. She's just had such an incalculable impact on music. Rolling Stone ranked her number 45 on their 200 greatest singers of all time list, which I feel like maybe is a surprisingly low number for me. But that's okay. So anyway, that's the backstory.
Let's get the Mixtaper on in here.
Yeah, let's get the Mixtaper in here for some factor spin. What's the opposite of a Yonker? I bet that's what the Mixtaper is. I can't stress enough, like, she was in Yonkers for not a very significant portion of her life. So it's really interesting that we've latched onto that.
Yeah, we really have.
But it's okay.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hello, you old dastardly rhapsodizer. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Great.
I heard you guys were talking about Younkers in here.
Just a little bit. It came up.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of a Yonker.
Darn. See, I knew it. I wanted to know what the word was, but I couldn't think of one.
There's not really one.
Oldker? Oh.
I looked it up. You got middle-aged men,
Oh.
people of old age,
That's just a normal phrase.
Yeah. The closest one I could come up with was pensioner.
Like someone who's on their pension.
Yeah, well, I'm on my pension.
That's true. I mean, that's why you're here, right? To win money every week to pay your student loans.
Yeah. I collect from my pension because I spun to the people in charge and told them I was older than I actually am. They fell for my spin.
Are you confessing to fraud on a podcast?
What? That's not fraud. Just spun. There's no crime against spinning.
Okay, whatever you say.
No, there's no laws against dastardliness.
Nope, it's true.
Show me in the Constitution where it mentions being a dastard. Let's just go on to fact number 1.
Yeah, let's go on to fact number 1. I'm hoping that I'm out of the badness here. Last week, hopefully broke my curse. But we're 50-50 now, right? Oh, no.
No, you ruined it. We were 50-50
Never mind.
and then you ruined it again.
Sorry, I ruined it during the Rush episode.
Yeah. She loved a good parody.
Oh, I love a good parody, too. What kind of parodies does she love? This before Weird Al's time.
She liked to write parodies of her own songs.
Oh, really? That's fun.
Well, that's for you to find out. I love it when you do that.
I
When you're like,
understand,
oh,
I understand.
really? Wow.
Well, if it's true, it's cool.
Yeah.
Are they parodies just for like her to sing while she's just living life, you know, like walking around singing a parody of her own song? Or did she like perform them on stage for people?
From time to time, she would perform them for like special groups.
Oh, fun. It'd be fun to like try and sneak a parody in a real performance and see if anybody noticed.
That would be fun.
Do you have some like examples of things that she would parody? What were the lyrics like?
Yeah, okay, so the example I got for you is her song Let's Do It, Let's Fall in Love from her Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong album.
Okay.
I guess, do you want the real lyrics first? And then the...
Yeah, the real, and then we'll comparody.
Well, would you like to know what the parody's about first? So you can keep that in mind. While listening to the real lyrics. And then...
Sure.
Okay. So the parody is a song about urination.
Oh.
She wrote a song about taking a little pee-pee.
I guess she must have.
A little tinkle.
If this is true.
So the lyrics to Let's Do It, Let's Fall in Love are birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love.
I know that song.
Yeah. And then like the parody version is dogs do it, frogs do it, even muddy oinking hogs do it. Sooner or later, everyone has to go wee wee pee pee tinkle.
Okay, yeah, but birds and bees also do it.
That's true.
You changed a lot. Everything pees.
Yeah.
Wait, not everything. Most things pee. Who'd she perform this for?
So the whole song is about a puppy who's tinkled in the house.
Oh.
Or needs to tinkle and is trying not to do it in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you get into like the verse and it's like, it's a puppy, he has to pee pee, but he can't because he's stuck in the house and no one's home. How frustrating can we see? Poor puppy, he really has to go. Everybody's got to go sometime. Dogs do it, frogs do it, even muddy oinking hogs do it. Sooner or later, everyone has to go wee wee pee pee tinkle.
This is what you're starting with?
I thought I'd start with a real flashbang.
Man, splash bang.
Yeah, a real splash bang.
Man. This cannot be true. Maybe she parodied songs. Maybe she did. You just really went all in with this pee song, and I can't.
Hey there, puppy. Come here, boy. Ha ha ha. I've come to set you free so you can pee. Ha ha ha. You sure are pokey. We'll get you out the backyard in no time, puppy. Ah, that's better. What a relief. Great work, puppy. Now you can use your doggy door anytime you have to. Wee wee pee pee tinkle. Ha ha ha. That's the rest of the lyrics.
You make a compelling point in that you have all the lyrics to this parody. So I don't know if you wrote this parody or you found this parody, but I mean, it has to have come from somewhere.
Maybe from the mind of the mixtaper.
Man, maybe, but I don't think it came from the mind of Ella Fitzgerald.
You're locking in spin?
I'm gonna lock in spin. I also just I can't help but notice that like the cover of this album is very yellow. So if you were like looking at this album, think of a lie. Like that might be close to the top of your brain. I don't know. This is not true.
How derivative do you think I am? How dare you?
You tell me. How derivative are you?
Pretty derivative. This is a spin.
Why would you think I believe that? I mean, parody, fine. You just picked a really aggressive, like you went all in on this.
Well, because I thought if I started with it as a flashbang, you'd be like, he has all the lyrics. Why would he think I'd believe this? It must be true, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, you definitely did have all the lyrics. Did you do that?
This is a real parody. No.
Okay.
This is a real parody performed on the Nick Jr. show, The Wonder Pets.
What? From the Wonder Pets?
Yeah, the Wonder Pets help a puppy get out of the house to go tinkle.
What's gonna work?
Teamwork. I actually, before we were recording, was whistling that, and I was afraid you were going to pick up on it because I kept subconsciously whistling that theme.
Okay, hold on though. Let's like unpack that.
Uh-huh.
Even if I had picked up on the Wonder Pets, do you think there's any iota of a chance that I maybe would have connected that to one random episode where they sing an Ella Fitzgerald parody?
You knew about elevator brand names. I don't know what you do and don't know anymore.
Okay, touche. Wow, that's unreal.
Yeah.
Do you think kids, why is that in the show? Kids don't know the song. Kids can't know the real song. It's about the birds and the bees.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, Wonder Pets.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Thought I'd blitz you with urination.
Man, yeah. Well, we'll leave the Wonder Pets pea songs to the Younkers and move on.
Let's do... It's kind of in the same vein. She's an improv artist.
I sure hope that's the extent of the same vein that it's in.
Yeah. Well, remember when... I'm going to have to refresh your memory. It's been a minute. But you said it'd be really cool if she just made up random songs and sung them on stage?
Yeah, I do remember that because it was about 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, I said it's been a minute.
Sure. Is that what she did?
Uh-huh.
Just like made up random songs on the spot? Or like made up lyrics, made up a melody to an existing... How's this go?
She forgot the words to her song.
Oh, so she was like forced to improvise. This is like a one-time thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Which song did she forget the words to?
Mac the Knife.
Okay. And you might not remember this because it's been a minute, so let me remind you. Remember when I said, what if she just sang a parody of a song or changed the words? Would people notice? I'm going to ask that again. Did people notice when she changed the words?
Well...
Were they shocked? Surprised?
I guess I don't know if they...
Did they tweet about it?
They definitely didn't tweet about it.
Didn't think so. Well, birds do it.
Yeah, birds do it. I don't know if they really noticed or not. I don't know which way to answer that. They noticed enough to have it go on to win 2 of her Grammys.
Whoa, it won Grammys?
Yeah, a recording of that performance where she had to improvise the lyrics.
Whoa, that's remarkable. I like this. I think this one is true. I'm going to say that this one's a fact.
I'm sorry to tell you, it was only 1 Grammy, and therefore...
Okay.
No,
All
I'm
right.
kidding. This is a true fact.
All right. Woo. Only 1 Grammy. Good grief.
Yeah, this is a true fact.
Maybe if you'd flipped the order of these and like we had established.
Yeah, I really debated which way to go. I think either way, you were bound to get one of them right and the other one wrong.
Well,
in my head, like I was like, no matter which one I gave you first, you were gonna get the second one right after knowing the answer to the first one.
gotcha.
And so I thought I had a better chance of getting you to say the spin was a fact than to say this was a spin.
Okay, that makes sense. Good strategy, in theory.
But I guess we don't even need to play the other 2 rounds because you have to miss them in order to go 50-50 this week. So,
Well, I'd still like to give them a shot, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. Do you want the callback or the pun first?
Oh, I love a good pun. Let's let the callback
End it?
marinate a little more.
Let it be more of a callback.
Yeah,
Give it a couple extra minutes.
yeah, exactly. If you're excited for that, you're going to have to wait and figure out what we're calling back to. I don't even know.
Great. Well, in that case, she is a heavy metal singer.
What in the world could that mean even in this context? What does she sing about? Iron? I don't know. What are you going for here?
She's a singer who has a heavy metal.
She has a heavy metal?
Well, I don't even know if the metal itself is heavy, but, I really wanted the pun, so.
Sure. I mean, take away the heavy. She has a medal. Are you talking about like an award?
Kinda, yeah.
Like a heavy,
Yeah,
like
sure.
a MEDAL medal?
Yeah, MEDAL. Yeah, she has a heavy
She's a heavy metal singer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
And the word heavy is there for a reason. It wasn't just for the pun.
No, it was a medal of importance, like emotional weight, grandeur. Was it big? Okay, please translate your noises into English.
Oh, those were both no's.
Well, what's so heavy about the metals?
The metals they were made out of. They're heavy metals.
Okay, really? That's what kind of heavy metals are the metals made out of?
Osmium and iridium.
I frankly don't know much about either of those.
Yeah, I went down a real mixtaper hole with this one.
It's like a normal hole, but it's wearing a mask. Sorry, that wasn't the callback.
No.
Still coming.
Still coming. I went down a real mixtaper hole on this one when I found this.
Yeah.
It hit the history nerve that I have.
Yeah.
The history taste bud, really. I have a real taste for history.
Okay.
So she was given a medal made out of a phonograph needle.
Ooh.
that they engraved her name on.
Phonograph needles aren't big.
No, that's why when you're like, was it a big metal? I was like, yeah.
So it's just a little, almost like a necklace.
It really probably should be called a necklace, but then I don't have the heavy metal singer pun, so.
Okay, so the phonograph needle is made out of osmium and iridium.
Correct, which again, the heavy part of that comes in because osmium and iridium are the two heaviest stable metals on the periodic table.
Really cool, okay. And that's what they made phonograph needles out of.
They're mainly used for phonograph needles and fountain tip pens, compass bearings. You combine osmium and iridium to make osmiridium is what it's called. Because osmium is like not as stable on its own, but it is when combined with other things like iridium or platinum. Yeah, at least I went down a real Mixtaper hole. None of that's important. The important part is that she has a phonograph needle with her name engraved on it, given to her by Decca Records after the success of one of her songbook albums.
Okay, awesome. What's engraved on the needle, did you say, is her name?
Yeah,
or
her name.
Something?
Her name.
Okay. How do you do that?
I don't know.
It's obviously very small to fit in the groove of a record.
I mean, I have a picture of it, and it's bigger than you would think. Like, the tip of it gets really tiny, but it, like, on these older phonographs, it's chunkier than, like, you would see on a phonograph or a record today, right? In terms of its overall length, and it gets to a wider diameter the farther down it you go.
Uh-huh. And is it inset into anything, or just, like, loose, attached to a string or a, I don't know, chain? Or
No, it's just like that on, like, a chain.
Interesting. Heavy metal singer.
Yeah.
Hardly a metal. Not heavy at all. I'm gonna say it's a fact.
Locking in fact. This is a spin.
Oh, I didn't even ask about, like, if she wore it a lot. I could have dug deeper. Darn. So there's no necklace then.
Well, so I first came up with this pun in relation to her Medal of Freedom.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's kind of the direction I thought we were going to take at first.
Yeah, but then I saw it was on the rundown, so I was like, well, let's just turn it into a spin because I like the pun.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what would be a cool, like, metal shape? And I was like, a phonograph needle. And I was like, but how do I get, like what, a giant phonograph needle? And then I, like, got looking into phonograph needles and found out that they were made out of the two heaviest stable metals. And I was like, perfect.
I mean, hey, it worked out. I admire your craftsmanship.
Thank you.
That was a really well done. What a cool prize that would be. Like, actually, that'd be a very interesting piece of memorabilia.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the moment the audience has been waiting for.
This big callback that now we've overhyped.
Yeah. The Lord of the Ringos failed her.
Wow, that's a different callback than I thought. Okay, well, in episode 100, on the B-side, we talked about how the Beatles almost made a Lord of the Rings movie. They tried to cast themselves in a Lord of the Rings movie, and then we called it Lord of the Ringos, which is funny. Hilarious, in fact.
Yeah.
Not to pat ourselves on the back.
But we will. Little pat.
But how does it fail her? Is it a reference to the Beatles making Lord of the Rings? Is it just a reference to Ringo?
I mean, both?
Okay.
Yeah. So in 1965.
All right.
Set the scene. 1965.
Doo-doo-doo.
Oops. Clicked on it and opened a different tab.
What are you talking about? It's 1965. That doesn't mean anything to me. Clicked.
Which?
Opened a tab? Like you're at a bar?
Anyway, the Beatles, you know.
I do know, yes.
Yeah, it's 1965. You better know who the Beatles are. Well, you've been living on a rock?
That's right. Man, one of the best bands so far. They're probably going to be around forever.
Dang.
Well, I'd sure like to believe it. It's 1965.
Definitely not just for like 5 more years.
Yeah, sure hope Johnson pulls us out of Vietnam.
You're Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh, okay.
And you hear that the Beatles are wanting to make a Lord of the Rings movie.
Wait, it's actually genuinely about the Lord of the Rings movie?
Yeah, well, that's why I said it's kind of about both. You know, it's about Ringo Starr of that, and it's kind of about both.
Okay.
Why would you don't think I would just call it the Lord of the Ringos failed her if it didn't relate to the Lord of the Ringos?
Yes, I do, because you just said the last one was that she was a heavy metal singer.
Oh, well, that's fair. When framed that way, you hear about this because you're asked to be in it by the Lord of the Ringos himself, Ringo Starr.
Oh, really? Ringo calls me up, me as Ella Fitzgerald, and says, "You want to be in a movie?"
We're looking for some groovy, famous singers to be in this movie with us. Are you in or are you in? And she's like, I'm in.
What, is she just there to do the music, or is she there to like play a part in the movie?
Oh, I assume to play a part.
Whoa. Okay.
And she's like, I'm in.
She was in on this?
Yeah.
Amazing.
She had an acting career.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, the Beatles' Lord of the Ringos is just, I don't know. I don't know if that's on my priority list of acting gigs.
In 1965, when the Beatles are at like the height of their popularity, I think you'd be down for anything the Beatles wanted to do.
You're probably right.
Unfortunately, the Lord of the Ringos never sees the light of day.
No, as we know all too well, because it doesn't exist.
And to make it up to her, Ringo Starr helped her write a novelty song.
Whoa, this is involved. Well, we know that she's an improv artist. What kind of song did they write?
A song about Ringo Starr.
She wrote a song about Ringo with Ringo?
Yeah.
What's the song?
Ringo Beat.
Interesting. So it's not a song that she gets to sing and have, right? Ringo takes this song and does it.
No, she recorded it.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have you listened to it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, my next question doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. What was your next question?
Is it any good?
Oh, well, I can't answer that. Apparently not.
Oh, oh no. Bad reviews?
Yeah. Yeah. One of Fitzgerald's biographers called it awful, and another jazz critic, is that the right term?
Is it someone who's criticizing jazz?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, like a jazz, like what we do, but like with more authority.
Oh, rhapsodizing.
You know, like you got like a food critic, right? Who's like an authority on food. Like, what do you
Yeah.
call like a music critic, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. I just I asked, is that right? And you didn't give me a straight answer. I was scared.
It seems right. I just don't know who you're talking about. So how can I know?
I just some random critic called it her worst song ever.
Woo! Wow.
Jazz radio stations refused to play the song because it was so bad.
Yikes. Is it out there in the world today? Can I listen to it?
Yeah, right here, Ella Fitzgerald, minute 46, Ringo Beat.
Well, that's proof enough for me that the song exists, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At least a song called Ringo Beat exists and is a minute and 48. Whether Ella Fitzgerald actually did it or not
Minute 46, please.
is still up for debate. Whether she did it because of Lord of the Rings is up to debate.
Yeah, you seemed really skeptical of the idea of Ella Fitzgerald doing it. What was that all about?
No, not
you
the
were
song.
like, oh, it's called Ringo Beat? Oh, so Ringo did this then. And I was like, no, Ella. She's like, and you were like, really?
Well, I'm skeptical of that because Ringo has done this thing where he co-writes with people and there's songs about him and then he puts them on his albums.
Oh.
Look at his self-titled album.
Really?
He's got a song called I'm the Greatest that he wrote with like John Lennon
Oh, really?
about how Ringo is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So that's just like a thing.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to think. If it's true, there's no way you wouldn't include it about the Beatles. But also, this is just a very peculiar thing for you to make up, I suppose. I'm going to say this is a fact.
Lock that in for me.
I would like to lock in that this is a fact.
This is
I either win or we go 50-50.
a spin 50-50.
Oh, wow. Really?
Now, what if I told you none of this was true? I made up the song. I made up the time.
I'd be really impressed.
If I told you that, we'd have another spin on our hands because the song does exist. But
Yeah.
there's a song called Ringo Beat by Ella Fitzgerald, minute 46. However, Ringo did not help write it at all. She just wrote it about him because she was, quote unquote, desperate for a hit.
It sounds like it wasn't.
Yeah. It was written and recorded by Ella Fitzgerald. It was inspired by the popularity of Ringo Starr.
See, the Lord of the Rings part was the part I was feeling dubious about the whole time.
Yeah. So here's my logic with including that. He'll be dubious, but he'll ultimately decide that there's no way I would try to slide that past him as a spin because of how obvious it was.
Yeah.
And is that kind of where your mind went? That like why would he lie about this?
Pretty much spot on. Yeah.
Nailed it.
I gotta say, I'm listening to the song right now. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's certainly not good. Its minute and 46-second length is a mercy, honestly. Wow, that's wild.
Well, I think this was a fun one.
This was.
Really blitzed you at the beginning, hit you with a cool...
Yeah, the blitz at the beginning is one of the weirdest facts we've seen in a bit.
Usually the weird ones are true, too.
Sometimes.
Or at least have some inkling of truth to them.
Mm-hmm.
We learned some science today. This was science.
Critic.
I'm the mix guy who spins and lies.
What are you talking about?
Mix guy who spins and lies. Mix.
Gosh. For some reason, when you started talking about rocks and heavy metal, I thought we would end up here.
At Bill Nye.
Oh no, on a Bill Nye the Science Guy track. It just didn't register when you said it right away because
It was that bad.
It just didn't, because why would that have registered? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you next time for more facts and probably more spins, if I had to guess. And I will.
Maybe even no facts.
Maybe even. Oh, don't do that. You've spun so much.
But until then. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Hi, Connor.
Hello.
Did you know about the Wonder Pets Pea song?
I actually watched the Wonder Pets as a kid.
Yeah, I feel like, I was aware of it. I don't know if it was popular when I was Wonder Pets watching age.
Well, my sister was Wonder Pets watching age, and so therefore I saw it too. Mm-hmm. I could not have told you that existed just on my own, but hearing the Mixtaper talk about it, I absolutely remember that episode.
Oh, goodness, wow. You got a good memory. I'm not allowed to question it ever again.
Sorry, what are we doing?
A podcast.
What's that? I'm still in 1965.
Oh, shoot. We forgot to bring him back. Well, it's okay, though. This album came out in 1957, so you could still talk about it from 1965.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we can still talk about it. We're safe.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the album cover first.
Okay.
I honestly don't have anything to say that I didn't already say. It's yellow.
She's looking up. What do you think she's looking at? Aliens?
No, probably not aliens. Maybe something else. Maybe she's looking at someone she loves. Oh, I think she's actually just looking at the album title written up there.
Oh, she's like, why are there words floating above me? Like,
yeah, maybe.
How is this happening? It's 1965. We haven't invented floating words yet.
Still haven't. Let's talk about the tracks. This is going to be a different one, I think. I have some thoughts on this whole album. We got 15 tracks to talk about.
That's a lot of tracks.
I know. We'll probably have to keep them kind of short and sweet.
Okay.
But just in general, I want to preface by saying, like, me listening to this album, like, I tried all day to come up with a metaphor for it. Like, you remember on George Strait how you talked about he's a chocolate cake kind of guy?
Or just too much and...
No. Well, yes, that's what you talked about. Yeah, how he was too much all at once, and it was good, but you needed some milk or something to break it up. You needed to mix it around a little bit.
Sure.
This isn't like that, but I don't know what to compare it to, where I feel like this whole album has a remarkable degree of continuity to it. I think all these tracks have just kind of blended together in my mind, and it's not a thing I ever need a break from or get sick of.
It's like a strand of DNA. A lot of moving parts, a lot of nuance, and a lot of...
DNA only has 4 moving parts.
Well, you know, all your DNA works together, but, and, you know, there's a lot going on in that little strand, DNA, and life finds a way.
I don't know if that's entirely accurate. Find your inner Goldblum. I just think I always enjoy listening to this album, every part of it, and I probably could just listen to it on repeat.
It's like a good bowl of chowder.
Chowder. I was thinking of a bowl of soup, honestly, where every bite is like the same ingredients, but maybe sometimes in different quantities.
It's like alphabet soup, because there's words.
Okay.
It's like a box of chocolate.
Yeah, sure.
Never know what you're going to get, but it's still chocolate.
Right. So anyway, that's my point, is this whole album really runs together in my mind a little bit. So as I was listening and trying to take notes on every track, just like think about each track as an individual song, it was so hard just to separate them from this album as a collection for me. And so that's why my thoughts on all the tracks are shorter. It's just because I feel like they'd be very similar.
You know, I was joking around with a lot of really bad metaphors, but
you were.
It really is, I think, what you're looking for, almost like a tie-dye canvas. There is all the individual colors going on, right? But when you look at it, you just see this big blob of like art, right? Like it's hard to sometimes get in there and see the nuances of where the colors change from one to the other.
Oh.
There's a lot of stuff going on in from where like the red turns to blue, right? There's some purple in there, some black, some brown, you know, where as it transitions.
Yeah, all kinds of different shades.
Yeah, but it's hard to really pick that out because you're just seeing this big splotch of red and blue, and it's hard to focus on the transition.
I think that's fair. Yeah, actually, decent analogy.
Boom! Nailed it!
Boom, nailed it. Well, first up on the track list is There's a Lull in My Life. It's by Mac Gordon and Harry Revel, and it just honestly starts with one of the best tracks on the album. I love the opening. There's something so instantly nostalgic about it.
It's such a classic, like, you know, just those little, like, horn falls where it's like, just like, that's kind of what you did when we were going to 1965.
That's true.
You, like, did a little, like, that's how iconic it was.
I know you're a big brass guy, but I'm really taken by the woodwinds and the flute and stuff on There's a Lull in My Life.
It's good. The woodwinds have their space. They just need to learn where that space is and stay there.
Right. I think it's really interesting to open an album called Like Someone in Love with a song like this.
Yeah, because you're missing that love.
It's a sad song. You're missing the person that you've been in love with. There's a lull in my life the moment you go away. Everything stops. Everything slows down and it's just not right. Things are just missing when you're not here, which is really the kind of powerful emotion you'd only experience like someone in love. I think it's an excellent start to the album.
I agree.
Definitely one of my favorites.
And I think it's followed up by another really good one.
I feel like every track is followed up by a really good one. That's what I'm saying. But the next track is More Than You Know by Edward Eliscu, Billy Rose, and Vincent Youmans. The song first appeared in a Broadway show, the 1930s show Great Day.
Nice. Maybe that's why I liked it so much.
Maybe. You're a Broadway guy, a show tunes guy, but it doesn't sound like a show tune, like a Broadway song to me.
It kind of does. It sounds like one of those old-timey ballads from a musical.
I guess I'm not familiar with 1930s Broadway.
It absolutely has that vibe to it.
You're right. I do hear it. And I just also want to point out, I think sometimes it seems like we're more critical of older music because of the lyrics, but I really think there's a sweet spot in the middle where the lyrics just fall apart. What's the reverse of a sweet spot? A sour spot. Like these lyrics are impeccable. Whether you remain or wander, I'm growing fonder of you, friends forsake you, blah, blah, blah. Like it's just a different lyrical style altogether that feels so much more expressive. And then we go through this period, right, of rockabilly, Blue and You and Stay in May, and like very easy rhymes, very short words. And I guess maybe that's just due to the rhythms being fast and trying to fit lyrics in. I think that's a dip. Then you get to like more modern times and the lyrics pick back up again. But I think there's definitely depending on the genre and the time period you're in. I think sometimes there's a sweet spot, sour spot where lyrics dip. But this predates that immensely. Certified poetry. Whole album.
Pre-dip.
Yeah, this is some pre-dip certified poetry.
I found it. I figured it out. It gives me My White Knight vibes from the Music Man.
Oh.
That really is just softer, light on the instrumental love song.
Also, More Than You Know has been recorded by other artists. Remember I said we'd get into it, go through them. It's been recorded by Count Basie, Cher, Bing Crosby, Barbra Streisand, and in 2022, Minnie Mouse, like the Disney character.
Oh, when?
Yeah. I think it was recorded in 2019.
So The Music Man became a hit on Broadway in 1957, the same year this album came out. Oh. So I think that's actually kind of fitting. It reminded me of a love song from that.
Oh, how about that? I didn't know. More Than You Know is all right. And like I said, it's a great song. I don't think I'd rank it amongst my favorites. What I will rank amongst my favorites is What Will I Tell My Heart? Oh, man. This is, I think, one that I even knew outside of the album. Maybe one of those jazz standards I've heard out and about. But it's by Irving Gordon, Jack Lawrence, and Peter Tinturin. It's all about a relationship that's ended, right? The guy's gone away, and she's left having to explain it to everyone around her, to the town, to her friends, to her family. I know what I'm going to say to them, but what am I going to tell my very own heart to keep it calm?
Yeah.
And break the news to myself that you're gone. I can't cope with it. I'm not coming to terms with it. What do I say? What do I do? Such a cool concept.
It is a cool concept.
And I love the dichotomy, too, between these types of talking to people. It's easy to say to strangers that we played a game from the start. I can lie to a stranger. There's no stakes. But when I'm dealing with my own heart, I have to be more honest. I have to be I know what happened for real. There's no disguising what's absolutely been true. It's awesome. And then, there's lines here like wandering home to a telephone that forgot how to ring because she's not getting calls anymore. Wow. I just like it a lot. And her voice is so good. So clear. I don't think she misses a note at all. She's got that same kind of richness to her voice that George Strait maybe had, that you were chocolate caking about.
She does.
But it's used in such a different, softer way that's really powerful.
Definitely these first 4 songs, and I'll have to see if it continues on, all could just be one long song in terms of their, they all flow together so seamlessly.
It's true. And because it's one of these older records, songs were so short.
Yeah.
I mean, you fly, boom, 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 track, 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 track. like 3, maybe 3.5 minutes on most of these.
I mean, some of them even get down in like closer to 2.5.
Right. And so I really don't think she gives you a chance to get bored or burn out. But I really feel like I couldn't. I don't think it's possible. We'll see. I don't know. I'm curious about your response to that. As the guy who had chocolate cake with George Strait, who sometimes needs things to be mixed up a little bit. It happened with Leonard Skinner a lot too. Across genres. I feel like you like to mix it up a little bit. Mr. Shuffle Playlist.
Yeah. I think the first one that doesn't really fit, and it still has that same vibe to it, it just wouldn't be able to be one continuous song. The first real break you get is track 5.
Track 5. Okay. I was going to say track 4.
I said that the first 4 all sounded like they could go together.
No, I know. Well, I think it's interesting because I never had a chance. The 4th track starts with just her vocal over silence. I feel like that's a definite break for me. At least mentally. It feels like a cold stop.
Not the way track 3 like ends.
Yeah, that's true. It is a pretty natural pickup.
Track 3 ends with the music kind of fading out, which then makes it a natural transition to just her voice again.
Fair enough.
Like when it just plays through, it's just like the music fades, and then there she is still singing the exact same tone, style. It just transitions right in. The first one that's really different is that the musical shift in track 5.
Yeah.
Takes on a bit more of a swing vibe.
Well, I Never Had a Chances by Irving Berlin, a classic. Just, it doesn't get any better. If you're looking at like 1930s music, Irving Berlin is a great place to start. It's originally from 1934. Dean Martin and the Nat King Cole Trio have also done covers. But Close Your Eyes you thought was different, mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, she's got more of a swing vibe to both the music and her voice.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of a Latin kind of groove going on.
Yeah.
It is, I think, unique on the entire album. I think there's nothing else on the album quite like Close Your Eyes, which is awesome because it makes it one bit that always stands out to me. You know, it kind of rises above what the tie-dye canvas of the rest of the album.
Yeah.
It's a part of the canvas that my eyes are always drawn to uniquely. Close Your Eyes is by Bernice Petkeer, also from 1933, and it was first done by Freddie Martin, but other famous versions include Peggy Lee, Doris Day, Liza Minnelli, Queen Latifah in more modern times, and more.
That's wild.
One of the things I noticed about this is the bass, the upright bass you can hear in the background sometimes during Close Your Eyes.
Yes.
It's subtle and almost not there. It's like missable, but it brings such a rich texture to the song where so much of the rest of the album has been, I mean, like violins and woodwinds. That just adds all the more. And, I mean, rare percussion. To talk about the Latin groove, it's not really a drum-heavy album. It's maybe one of the only places I can explicitly remember drums is on Close Your Eyes. But also, I mean, if the first 4 tracks just run together and track 5 feels like the start of something new, it also feels like the end of something, because We'll Be Together Again, the next song, also feels like it starts fresh all over again.
Yeah, it does. Because of how unique track 5 is, track 6 is back as a new start again.
Yeah, keeping it fresh once more. It starts out with maybe the most shocking moment on the album so far. Just all of a sudden, you come in, and it's just like,
Yeah.
Like I wasn't ready. I was not expecting that. The album's been so quiet, and that's probably the fastest sequence of notes so far.
Yeah.
We'll Be Together Again. It's by Carl T. Fisher and Frank Laine, and it's older by the standards from this record. It's from 1945 instead of, the early 30s. Its first release came from a group called the Pied Pipers. Other covers come from Billie Holiday, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Louis Armstrong, Bing Crosby, Rod Stewart, and of course, Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, did they do it on Family Guy?
Maybe. Actually, I can't be sure. I don't know.
He's also done just to do parody songs for like other things, so it could really be either way.
Yeah, it could. We'll Be Together Again, I think, has maybe the strongest playlist pick potential for me. I haven't decided what I'm going to pick yet.
Really?
But man, I like this song. The melody is so unique. So good. And it just feels so natural. There's some notes that sound dissonant, but they're not. Like, the song is constructed so expertly. This song is almost like a work of art.
Wow, big praise.
I really like We'll Be Together Again. It's a highlight moment on the album. But then we go to a concept that we've kind of heard a lot with Then I'll Be Tired of You by Yip Harburg and Arthur Schwartz. What a name. Yip Harburg. Love it.
Yip sounds like a real yonker.
He does. He was at one point. But Then I'll Be Tired of You is a concept we've heard a lot. You brought him up on Ray Stevens, right? And some other time too. When will the flame burn out? When will the love die? Well, I'll be tired of you when stars go out.
Yeah.
When I'm tired of dreaming. When the wind stops blowing. When the grass stops growing. Beyond the years till day is night, till wrong is right, till birds refuse to sing. Gosh darn. Again, certified poetry.
Which means we need an update on which one's your favorite of the three, I think, iterations of this we've had.
What was the third one? Was it Barry Manilow? Was it Michael Bublé? Was it something I brought?
I think it was something you brought.
In Sync.
Ah.
It was When Winter Comes in Summer. You know the song. That's actually been a longer time ago than I thought.
It has.
That's When I'll Stop Loving You. But yeah, between that song, the Ray Stevens one, and this Ella Fitzgerald, Then I'll Be Tired of You. Oh man, I forget how the Ray Stevens one goes. What are some of the things that he says will happen?
Blue Jays will forget how to sing.
Well, it's the same as in this song.
Because it's When I Get Over You. When I get over you.
That's right. That actually helps me remember. Yeah, I think Ella takes it. I think she's my new favorite version of this song.
Really? I disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you just disagree with that because it's Ray Stevens.
I like Ray Stevens' version better. I think the swing he puts on it, the vocal rhythms with the When I Get Over You. I think some of his metaphors are better.
Well, that's true. It's a little less maybe inventive. It's a lot more nature imagery, though. Wind and grass and stars and birds and dawn and the works. I do just like it a lot. But I also don't blame you for liking Ray Stevens' version more.
What do you think of Midnight Sun?
Well, hold on. We'll get there.
Oh.
I know you're excited for what that entails. But first we gotta talk about the title track. Like Someone in Love.
Oh, whoops, I did skip one.
You did.
Oops.
That's what I mean. That's what this whole album is like. It's like, you just get so lost in it. Like Someone in Love is by Johnny Burke and Jimmy Van Heusen in 1944. They made it for the film Belle of the Yukon. Sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Bing Crosby's covered this one, as well as some other folks. I like Someone in Love, but really only on the line Like Someone in Love. I think otherwise, it's one of my lesser favorites on the record, which kind of surprises me for a title track. I guess thematically it encapsulates everything the album's about, because so many of these songs are love songs, or songs about the end of love. The whole album is generally like how you would react to life as someone who is or has been in love. But just in general, I think it's whelming.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's whelming. I like the do-do-do-do-do from the flute.
Oh, I do have to... One of the most, I think, ridiculous lines on this whole album comes in Like Someone in Love. She says, "Each time I look at you, I'm limp as a glove." Like, that's silly. I mean, really? Glove? Okay.
Glove's pretty limp.
Nah, yeah, I guess. Maybe, but that's what you got to rhyme with love? That's it.
What, limp as a dove?
Well, no, but you could use dove in some other way. Each time I look at you, my heart flutters like a dove. I don't know. Limp as a glove, though, really just pulls me right out of the sweet love song and makes me laugh.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying Limp as a Dove. I think that's the move.
Well, that's like a dove that's not alive, though.
Yeah. You're picking up what I'm putting down. Yeah, we're on the same page.
You should be putting down the dove.
But I love him.
I hope you're wearing some limp gloves, because birds could carry disease. Now we can talk about Midnight Sun, if you still want to.
Nah.
Well, we're going to do it anyway. Midnight Sun actually has an interesting story behind it. First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that the Midnight Sun is the moon.
Yeah.
It's back.
We've been back.
That's true. Rush was very spacey. And all those Mixtaper full moons. You get it. Anyway, Midnight Sun is by Sonny Burke, Lionel Hampton, and Johnny Mercer. This one started its life as an instrumental. Sonny Burke and Lionel Hampton wrote the instrumental, recorded it, put it out on the radio. It was great. Johnny Mercer, he's driving down the highway in 1947, listening to the radio. The song that they wrote comes on, and he's like, "Oh, I like this." And he, much like Ella Fitzgerald does when she forgets the words, he starts making up words to this song as he drove. And he put words to it, 1947, and it turned into Midnight Sun. Ella was actually a major player in popularizing the song, and especially the lyrical version of the song. She would release it again, a second time, on her 1964 Johnny Mercer Songbook record.
Nice.
Yeah, so Johnny Mercer gets a lot more love in the discography of Ella Fitzgerald. This one is one of the longer songs on the album, at just about 4 minutes. Not the longest, but it certainly feels longer when you listen to it. Like it shows its length. But in a good way, I think. It's a very pretty song. I don't know how you're going to do a top 3 from this album.
It's gonna be rough.
I'm sure it is. And I had that in mind when I was listening to the album. You know, I hit play and I was trying to go through how the podcast would go, and I thought about you.
Nah, I see what you did there.
I thought about you is track 10 out of 15. It's another Johnny Mercer song.
It's another one that's got a bit more pep to it.
Yep, it's a different side of Johnny Mercer than we got on Midnight Sun. Jimmy Van Heusen also did this one too. Yeah, Mercer was actually inspired by a trip to Chicago. He said, Van Heusen played me the melody. I didn't have any idea, but I had to go to Chicago that night, and I got to thinking about it on the train. I was awake, I couldn't sleep, the tune was running through my mind, and that is when I wrote the song on the train, really going to Chicago. So the lyrics are very apt.
Yeah.
I took a trip on a train and I thought about you. Cars parked under the stars, winding stream, moon on a little town, and with each beam, same old dream, you. Such a unique take on a travel ballad. I really like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Oh, and man, just everywhere he goes, he looks forward to where he's going, and he thinks about her. He looks out the window at the towns going by, and he thinks about her. I peeked through the crack and looked at the track, the one going back to you. And what did I do? I thought about you.
That's a good line.
Isn't it, though? Oh, man. It's great. Famous recordings of I Thought About You include Billie Holiday, Frank Sinatra, and David Bowie.
Nice.
I know. Yeah, so cool to find a lot of these modern or modern-ish renditions
modern.
of these jazz standards.
David Bowie. Real modern guy.
Well, I know, but just when you think about jazz standards, Bowie doesn't often come to mind.
I mean, I'll give you that. I didn't argue that point. Simply your use of the word modern.
More modern than Ella Fitzgerald. More modern than 1947 when the song was written.
Well, I guess I'll give you that.
Yeah, well, thanks. You're blasé.
What does blasé mean?
Great question. I figured we'd be answering this question on the podcast.
So you're Googling it now.
Well, I want to make sure I'm accurate. Blasé, you're unimpressed or indifferent to something because you've experienced or seen it so often before. So you're like numb to it.
That's how I'm starting to feel about this album.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Did it get old for you in a bad way?
Didn't say that.
Implied it. If you're blasé, you're unimpressed or indifferent.
I'm gonna been indifferent.
Okay. Well, we're on track 11. Honestly, that's not bad. You made it pretty far at this point. Another great name here. This song is by Ord Hamilton and Bruce Sevier. It's from 1931, and it first appeared in a London musical called Bow Bells. Bow Bells? Unclear with no context. Peggy Lee, Louis Armstrong, and more have covered Your Blasé. It's kind of like a sick burn of a song.
Yeah.
She's just squared up to this person saying, you've got no enthusiasm, you're uninspired, you just kick around being a couch potato, normal life is slowly passing by. I like Your Blasé. It's on my short list of memorable moments from the album.
Actually, this one I kind of do like.
Yeah, see? Yeah, there's always something to draw you back in.
But in general, I'm starting to get there.
Okay, you're too full of soup.
I'm all soupy.
Yeah. Night Wind is up next by Lou Pollack and Bob Rothberg. Track 12. You're right, though. I'm also very soupy at this point. Night Wind never sticks with me. Ever.
Never, ever?
Never, ever. It's a nice song, and I really like the string part in this one. The orchestra does a great job of backing her up. And everywhere. See what I mean? I could say the same things about every track, and it's always true. They're so similar, but so good. One that I did really like, though, is What's New. This is a Torch song.
We talked about what a Torch song is.
We did. You introduced the concept.
Sure did.
Yeah, I think it was Michael Bublé.
Totally remember it.
A torch song about someone holding out a torch for their other half, for the person that they're in love with, whether it's requited love or not.
I see.
They're yearning.
They yearn.
Yeah. What's New? It's by Johnny Burke and Bob Haggart, written in 1939, and it was adapted from an instrumental song called I'm Free. The original instrumental featured a trumpet solo. Mr. Trumpet.
Mr. Trumpet.
Actually, the song, the initial instrumental version, was recorded by Bob Crosby and his orchestra on the very same day it was written.
Wow.
I know, right? That is baffling. Think about that. This is like 1939. You've booked a studio for your orchestra and you don't have a song. So you just sit down real quick, write a song, pass it around to everybody, and say, okay, we're doing this. And voila, there you go. Anyway, that's the origins of the song. Instrumental. The lyrics came a year later in 1940, and they're meant to be half of a conversation between a couple. She's holding out a torch for her lover, just trying to start a conversation. One of the bigger, more modern covers of this song comes from Linda Ronstadt in 1983. Her version was huge. It peaked at number 5 on the adult contemporary charts and number 53 overall. I like What's New a lot. It's really cool. It moves through a lot of different key changes. Parts exist in 4 different keys. which is unheard of today.
That is very unheard of today.
You'd be lucky to find one key change in a song most times.
Yeah.
Let alone 4. Well, 3 key changes into 4 keys. You get it.
Of course.
Hurry Home is up next. Kind of feels like the flip side of I Thought About You a little bit. You know, one person's left and is on the road. This person is telling them to hurry home. It's by Buddy Bernier, Bob Emmerich, and Joseph Meyer. And it's just it's a sad, lonely song. Missing the person that you're used to being around all the time. Feeling very alone and like disheartened. Leaving the door unlocked just in case you decide to come back.
There's another one that kind of disappeared for me.
I get it. I mean, we're almost like 50 minutes into the album by the time Hurry Home comes up. So you've been soldiering through it for a long time. I use the term soldiering very lightly.
I was to say, wow.
For me, I mean, I feel like it's just a pleasure.
Didn't sound like it. You used the word soldiering. It's on the record.
Yeah, Hurry Home is okay. But by the time you get to the album, you really are asking yourself, how long has this been going on? That's the last track.
I actually like this one. It was another one that started off in a way that made me go, oh.
Yeah, because it's very weird.
Yeah.
This one, if you were going to try and make me believe that she ever sang songs about urination or like strange, weird things, this would have been the place to point with these very interesting lyrics.
They are weird.
Yeah, she talks about how being kissed by her family was like Dante's Inferno, and she hated it so much. It's just weird. But then she grows up and realizes what she's been missing. It's a whole thing. It's a weird situation, too, because it's, once again, by George and Ira Gershwin, best rap. And it was in a musical called Funny Face.
Oh, it is.
Do you know Funny Face?
I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I've heard its soundtrack.
What?
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing this? Wow. We hit Kaleo and you're like, I know 7 of these 10 songs. We hit Ella Fitzgerald and you're like, oh, I know Funny Face, the music.
Again, not one I could have like pulled, but then when you said it, I was like, oh, I know that musical.
Well, just because you know that musical doesn't mean anything. This song was originally in the musical, but the producers had it pulled because they thought it didn't mean anything.
Oh, then maybe I don't know it.
You might not know the song.
You said Funny Face, and I was like, what?
But it's just the fact that you know the musical. But they pulled and replaced the song. Along the way, some changes got made. The original version of the song compares kisses between family and romantic partners. Ella's version kind of goes a step in a new direction and compares, kisses for people she cares about to kisses for money. It's a whole situation. And it's almost 6 minutes on this album of very short tracks. This one is virtually a double. I think it drags a little bit for me as a song.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's all right.
It just starts out so interesting.
It does. But that brings us to the end. That's 15 tracks. 15, very similar tracks.
15 tie-dyed tracks.
That's right. I cannot stress enough. Just because they're similar doesn't mean they're not great. I think a lot of them are constructed very well, captivating, intriguing, nostalgic. I just really enjoy this album a lot. It is a lot of the sameness, tie-dye canvas, right? I see a lot of the same things everywhere, but I don't get tired of it. I'll get tired of it when day is night and wrong is right and birds forget to sing, and when the grass stops growing and the wind stops blowing, that's when I'll grow tired of it. Let's get into Final Spin. I feel like I've said everything that there is to be said as far as scores go.
Don't worry, I haven't.
Really? I'm sure. You played your cards very close to the chest again today. Don't think I didn't notice.
I like to do that.
I know, but it's a podcast.
I know.
We're supposed to talk about our thoughts. It's an audio medium to express yourself.
I know.
But I do like sometimes the reveal at the end. It's true.
I feel like if it's going to be a big reveal one way or the other, I like to hold it in.
Yeah, fair enough. Music from me is getting an 88. There's just so much musical complexity here that you don't hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Lyrics, 86. It is pre-dip lyrics, right? They're good, they're involved, they're emotional, they're vivid. No notes. 86 on lyrics. Instruments and production, I've heard a lot of newer albums that sound a lot worse, to be frank. So, no slights, even on time period that it was recorded in. I think it sounds lovely. The arrangements are consistent, and they, I think, elevate and emphasize her vocal in a really special way. Given instruments and production an 80. Overall vibe, enjoyable. I think you can learn a lot from this album, which is not something you could say about every album you listen to. I think this album, if you really, really dig into it and focus in on it, I think there's a lot to take away from here. 87. Obviously, she did not write the tracks herself. compiled them from a lot of very interesting sources, exposed us to a wide range of 1930s, 40s, 50s jazz, which I think is excellent, but no bonus point. So the overall score is an 86.4, landing this record at number 226. Like Someone in Love is below, as far as episodes we've talked about, below Randy Travis, Storms of Life, and it's above Abraxas by Santana, for now. Hint, hint. But that's me.
What does that mean for now?
For now, that's what it means. It means for later, maybe not, but for now, it's above Abraxas. That's the closest episode to it we've done.
Oh, that's the closest episode to it. Gotcha. I thought you were mean like after this recording, you were gonna go move it back below Abraxas. Or something.
No, psych.
Like what? Like what? Are you planning to re-rank Abraxas? Or?
No, I mean eventually, if the score changes, it changes. But
it just confused me. As for me, I had a problem with this album.
You had a problem. Do tell.
And it's a personal problem. It's me, not you sort of situation. Sorry, Ella Fitzgerald. It's me, not you.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your problem?
My style, my jazz taste. It's been corrupted by the bigger jazz, like sweeping jazz, real intense jazz of like a Frank Sinatra or a Michael Bublé.
I remember to fire up that first track to Cry Me a River on Michael Bublé.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie soundtrack. It's loud and in your face.
And Frank Sinatra was that way a lot with his song. He was a big, in your face singer. I did it my way, like.
Yeah, he does it his way. But this is absolutely not that.
Yeah. And while I like this and can appreciate this, again, in kind of that chocolate cake, like this would be almost the inverse of George Strait. George Strait was chocolate cake and I was missing the milk. Ella Fitzgerald is all milk, no chocolate cake.
Oh, no.
I need some chocolate cake. All right, I need some big in-your-face jazz tracks to hit my jazz sweet tooth.
To wake you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so while I like a lot of these songs individually, like almost any one of these 15 tracks would make a good glass of milk on a jazz playlist.
Sure.
But as a 15, I'm chugging milk over here. We know how that goes on this podcast.
Yeah, it's happened before.
I've just been chugging milk for the last 53 minutes and 39 seconds.
Fair enough. That is, I think you could make an argument that this album maybe would be better split apart.
Yeah.
I wouldn't entertain that thought on some albums, but sometimes I would. This is a time I would understand.
And so I want to preface my score with all the songs individually, 8s and 9s out of 10s, maybe a couple 7s on some of the ones that just didn't stick with me. But overall, very high opinion of the songs.
Yeah.
But as an album,
that's interesting.
This one's gonna get a 7 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's not bad. You hyped it up like it was going to be really rough.
No, it's just it would have gotten a higher score, I think, on a track-by-track basis. That, like, if you took all my track scores, like, if you let me listen to a track, score it, then, like, have a little break, then come back, listen to another one, score, like, if I did it that way, you would find a higher score.
Yeah.
And I honestly kind of want to give this one a 6, but I'm looking at my 6s. Yeah, no, this one's getting a 6. This one's getting a 6.
He undid it.
This one's going to go right above The Sky is Crying by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Wow.
Yeah, this one's getting 6 rhapsodizing Younkers.
That's right, rhapsodizing.
With a U.
With a U, yes.
I think you'd probably be at a low 8 if you were to average individual song scores.
Wow. That's remarkable.
But as an album, it's getting a 6.
That's so interesting because, think back a couple episodes to Kaleo, right? Where we had the first half of gritty rock songs and the back half of like slower, lighter songs. And I kind of felt like that album was greater than the sum of its parts, right? I think those tracks came together into an album that scored higher than it would have if you broke it up. This seems like the opposite, where the album is less than the sum of its parts to you.
Yeah.
That's rare. Wow.
Reaffirms my belief of being a singles listener.
I suppose so.
As for my top 3.
Yes, I got to know about this.
I get all my picks, right? There's no funny business.
Well, you don't get all your picks.
I don't?
No, you're still one back from Kaleo. You surprised me by taking extra.
Yeah.
And now you're getting surprised by yourself in the past.
That was more than I knew. No honorable mention. That's more than you'll ever know, audience.
Okay. That was a very natural one. That one didn't even feel very forced.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. My top 3 in album order. There's a lull in my life.
Ooh.
Next up, What Will I Tell My Heart?
That would be one of mine, I think.
And Midnight Sun.
Big skip.
Yeah, it was a hard one to pick, but I decided to go with Midnight Sun.
Interesting. I really thought you'd hook on to something like Then I'll Be Tired of You.
Nah, because Ray Stevens did it better.
Wow. So you know what you do for your top threes, where you start with a blank slate, and every time you hear a song you think might make your top three, you write it down, and then you eliminate as you go?
Yep. Would you like to know how many of them made the list?
I kind of would. Yeah, that's not where I was going, but now I'm curious.
11.
Oh, wow. 11 out of 15? That's amazing.
That's what I said. Individually, the songs all scored very well, just not as a whole. Doesn't help that the first 4 could be one whole song, as I said.
No. Well, your process for that is kind of what I did when I was thinking about playlist picks. I listened to the whole album through today, and I was like, this could be my playlist pick. And then the next song came on, and I went, ooh, this could be my playlist pick. And then the next song came on, and I went, oh, but this one. And I just started making bullet points, and I've got it narrowed down to 5.
Oh.
And I could even add more if I wanted to, but these 5, I'll be satisfied with any of them. My 5 are, like I said, We'll Be Together Again. Floors me every time. I added There's a Lull in My Life. It's probably lower on this list. What Will I Tell My Heart is very high. Then I'll Be Tired of You, also very high. And I Thought About You, pretty high too.
You want to do What Will I Tell My Heart and There's a Lull in My Life? Those 2 were on your list and they're on my list, so.
I would replace Lull in My Life with We'll Be Together Again.
Oh, well, that one's not on my list. I'm trying to pick 2 that were on both our lists.
I know. Well, if you wanted to pick the one on my list out of the goodness of your heart, then I would tell my heart, thanks. No, I would tell your heart, thanks. Whatever. You get it. I'm picking We'll Be Together Again.
Well, I'll pick There's a Lull in My Life.
Okay. I guess that's the way it'll be.
Actually, I picked Midnight Sun.
Why does playlist picks always feel like some kind of like game of bluffing now?
Does it?
To see who folds first. Well, like this one in particular, I feel like you pick Lull in My Life hoping that I wouldn't be able to stand it and switch to something else.
No, I picked it because I was originally going to pick that, but then I decided I like Midnight Sun better. And since you didn't pick one from my list, I'm not picking one from your list either. It was more out of spite.
I think that's fair. Totally fine. Because we want something that's representative of like both of our favorite songs. And if these are truly what our favorite songs are.
I hit play on Midnight Sun and that opening instrumental into the horn solo. I'm just like, that'll be a fun thing to hear pop up on the playlist every once in a while.
And Moon Era.
Yeah.
It's a bonus.
But no, yeah, I really was thinking I was going to pick There's a Lull in My Life. That was not a bluff.
Okay. Also, for the record, we forgot to say our playlist picks last week on the Rush episode.
Yeah, we did.
But we picked The Passage to Bangkok and Tears. Bangkok was mine, Tears were yours, and then you picked Tears.
I'm full of tears.
You cried when I picked The Passage to Bangkok, and then you picked Tears. So if you missed it last week, well, here it was.
Hope that didn't cause you to never listen to the podcast again, because now you're missing out.
Because we messed up. But you will be missing out next week. I'm so stoked. Next week will be a fun one. We're deep into November. We're getting into the season. So stay tuned for more fun. The best ways to stay tuned are to follow us on Twitter at SpinItPod.
How dare you.
To follow us on Instagram and Threads at SpinItPodOfficial. And to find us on our website, www.spinitpod.com. Easy to remember, easy to visit.
Whoa, I have a pick coming up?
Yeah, you do actually decently soon.
Tell me who you pick, who you really, really pick. I'll tell you who I pick, who I really pick. I'm picking.
So the Spice Girls then. Okay, I'll get ready.
No. You know me and spicy things. They don't work out.
Well, if you got enough milk.
I had plenty of it on this one.
Be sure to like, follow, rate, star, subscribe, have fun, do all the things. Tell a friend. Tell the most rhapsodizing yonker you know.
Go tell a yonker about this podcast. And if they happen to rhapsodize, well, that's bonus points.
Yeah, that's a bonus. You get a bonus point if you tell a rhapsodizing yonker.
Any old yonker will do.
Is old yonker an oxymoron?
Yeah.
I think we're oxymorons. Let's wrap it up.
We're definitely morons.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was implying, yeah.
Oh, that's what you were going for. Oh.
Yeah, that was the joke.
Oh, I'm a moron.
Well, that might be, but we'll see you next week.
Keep spinning. Should there be a song about urination on Connor Sippin' and the Hoppin' album?
I don't think so. You already want to make it the Brown album.
Should we sell phonograph needles with your name engraved on them?
I mean, honestly, I kind of want to acquire one. How cool would that be?
Be pretty heavy.
Pretty metal.
Real depressing way to end the episode.